Do you want to say goodbye to your conflicts in co-parenting? At the end of this episode, you will walk away knowing what the first steps are to be able to build a bridge for a successful co-parenting with your ex. My aim is to share with you how we set the stage for all the practical aspects of co-parenting to unfold in a way that minimizes conflict and maximizes the cooperative effort in raising your children. In this first episode of our series, we're talking about embracing a new beginning. We're talking about transforming our approach and mindset from romantic partners to collaborative co-parents. Throughout my life, I never thought I would become a mom. During my childhood, I was sick all the time. It was no fun. Then, as a teenager, I was given this huge list from my allergy doctor at the time. The doctor told me that if I ever wanted to have kids, I had to do it with a person that was extremely healthy. You know, the kind that doesn't even get a cold once a year. To be honest, I was dead set on not having kids, ever. So my children would not inherit all my allergies and stuff. Wow, doesn't life throw you for a spin? Without looking, I actually did marry a very healthy guy. I still remember the day that we decided we wanted to try and have children. It happened about after 6 years of marriage. When it wasn't happening, after trying a couple of years with a doctor's direction, it was time to go to the specialist, the fertility doctor. To me, it sounded just as ominous as when I had to go to the allergy doctor. Here we go, another problem with me. How long and arduous was the road ahead of me? So we went on with the tests and the treatments, and then it happened. I was able to carry my babies. We were expecting twins, and they made it to full term. I was over the moon. My pregnancy was so easy. My only craving during pregnancy was strawberries with condensed milk. I ate strawberries every night. I went through so much to be able to have these beautiful, healthy babies that when the possibility of divorce came about, I was devastated. Here I was, after this long, difficult road with babies in my arms, and now they would not have a family with both loving parents to guide them on their journey. How could I make it right for them? For myself? The first thing in my mind was making sure they grew up in a healthy environment. No arguments, no fights. But how to do it? With some help from my psychology days, a lot of research and reading and learning, I was walking on uncharted territory. I was creating a new path to follow from this point forward. Imagine this marriage was like a house that has gone through an earthquake or a hurricane. Some parts of the building were all gone. Some of the walls remaining had severe cracks on the walls. Whenever these kinds of houses are inspected, it is most times recommended the building be demolished and a new build put in its place. The same applies to the end of a marriage. It is important to go in and reevaluate the journey ahead and then decide the best path. The best path for all involved, especially the children. Now, that appears easier said than done. How can we shift from a romantic to a parental partnership? Closing the chapter on the past relationship and setting the groundwork for a new child-focused dynamic? Wow, big words, right? We first needed to explore how essential it is to acknowledge the history shared. It's like saying goodbye to the past. We will acknowledge what was shared and say goodbye to be able to set the stage for what comes next. Don't get me wrong. It's not like waving a magic wand and all the past will disappear. We're talking about transitioning the bonds and experiences into a new context where our children and their well-being becomes the central focus. The new goal is a relationship that is supportive and focused in building a co-parenting partnership. Again, how can I pave the way for a successful co-parenting relationship? When I first moved here, I wanted to explore all the walking routes I had around here. So I decided to go down the hill and explore the road less traveled. Have you ever done that? Walking in that direction, yes, meant that There is more nature to explore, less vehicles to deal with, and it also meant the road is unknown. It's all dirt and full of holes, and it's also beautiful and full of nature. Transitioning from romantic partners to co-parents is just like that. There are a lot of unknowns. However, it is important to make the shift in both mindset and emotional orientation. The new goal as co-parents is to adjust not just for the well-being of the children, but also for the health of your ongoing interactions as parents. I remember one day that we had to decide what to do about the boys and the school they were at the time. It was not working for anyone. The boys were bored. As they are fast learners and the school wasn't moving at the pace they needed, they were bored. So the teacher would send them to the principal's office almost on a daily basis because the teacher didn't know how to keep them from misbehaving. They wanted to learn new things and they were not getting that. My ex and I were told the boys needed to be tested for the spectrum. I didn't know what that was either. Basically, they wanted us to test them for autism. Have you ever felt like the schools are always trying to get out of fixing their problems by passing on the hot potato to the parents? My ex definitely felt that. He was adamant there was nothing wrong with our children, and I agreed with him. However, that was not the point. The point was that we needed to come up with the solution to the current problem. What to do about what the school was requesting and what each one of us thought was the best solution to the problem. To be able to navigate in a co-parenting situation and do it successfully, it is important that the mindset shift has happened. We are no longer romantic partners. Instead, we are now teammates in the lifelong commitment of raising our children. It's about evolving from a dynamic that once was defined by romantic love to one that is solely focused on the love for your children and the mutual responsibility you bear towards helping them live a fulfilled life. This new road demands that both parties take on a perspective that places the children's needs and their well-being at the forefront of every decision and interaction. When both parents understand and accept the start of a new foundation, then we're on the road to a successful co-parenting relationship. Remember when you were going through the divorce procedures at the courthouse and the judge was making sure that what was agreed on paper is what both parties agreed to? Just like that, it's super important to understand that this is not a continuation of your past relationship. The marriage ended. This new relationship will have a new foundation. This relationship is about shared parenting responsibilities rather than personal romantic connections. We're setting a new foundation. We're shifting the way we interact with each other. It is not about putting our ideals or values and opinions onto the other parent. It is about establishing a framework where decisions are made based on what is best for the children, rather than being influenced by unresolved issues from the relationship. This perspective is essential, not only for the emotional health of us parents, but also for providing the children with a stable and supportive upbringing. It's about moving forward with a commitment to work together, friendly, amicably, prioritizing the well-being of the children above all else. When the marriage or romantic relationship has come to an end and there are little ones involved, we transition from romantic partners to co-parents. Both parties need to acknowledge that the romantic relationship is done. There was a beginning, a middle, and super important, now it's done. Don't get me wrong, we're not dismissing what happened in the relationship. We're coming to terms that the relationship has reached its end. When we see it this way, we're able to put the story behind. It's a story that contributed to each person's life, but that does not dictate the future. Understanding that the romantic relationship has ended helps both parties to disengage from their former roles and interactions. The usual disagreements you used to have as a couple will be a thing of the past, and now the focus is on the ongoing parenting responsibilities. The focus only on the well-being of your children. The importance of this new foundation is that it starts building when both parents have put behind past grievances or affections and shift the focus on a mutual commitment to the health and happiness of their children. Let's be frank. There can be plenty of reasons why a marriage or a relationship comes to an end. We're all humans. We all need closure, especially because the romantic aspect of the relationship goes directly to feelings. It is important that you have worked on your closure when you are transitioning into a co-parenting arrangement. Closure is fundamentally about acceptance. Accepting the end of the relationship as a couple and the beginning of the relationship solely as co-parents. This step is crucial because unresolved emotions and unresolved issues can easily bleed into disrupt the co-parenting dynamic. When you embrace closure and have come to terms with the end of your romantic relationship, that is the beginning of you moving on. Remember when we talked about when one door closes and another one opens? If we're holding on to the closed door, or if we never close the door, we cannot discover the beautiful things that we can find ahead. When we accept what is, when we have had that closure, there is a profound emotional shift inside you. Then all the past conflicts or unresolved issues are addressed or acknowledged. In turn, this prevents them from influencing interactions that now focus entirely on the well-being of shared children. Remember the goal of co-parenting. It is not to have old arguments and grievances going round and round like satellites, because in the end, this will allow residual bitterness to bleed in your parenting decisions. This not only strains the co-parenting relationship, but can also create a confusing and unstable environment for the children. When we have had our emotional closure and we're in a place of clarity and purpose, then our interactions are centered on the children's needs rather than the remnants of our past grievances. We all want the best for our children, don't we? With this in mind, we are able to establish a groundwork where decisions are made based on what is best for the children, free from the influence of unresolved emotional baggage. We are transitioning from romantic partners to co-parents, so it is crucial to acknowledge and respect the shared history without allowing it to dictate our future interactions. Respecting the shared history by valuing the past, it is okay to remember the good things throughout the relationship. This helps you maintain a sense of personal integrity and mutual respect, separate from the dynamics of co-parenting. When you can appreciate the good times and the lessons learned, it becomes easier and healthier to transition emotionally into your new role as co-parents. You can recognize that while your path as a couple is no longer, your ongoing connection through your children remains important. Now that we have acknowledged the past and the relationships that ended, we have started working on a new foundation. Next is the redefinition of that relationship. This involves rethinking the relationship to focus solely on the welfare of the children, making sure we're leaving behind any remnants of romantic feelings. This lays the groundwork for a relationship that is not a continuation of the past, but a new, purpose-built partnership centered around effective parenting. In practice, this means viewing each interaction and decision-making process through the lens of how it affects the children and their well-being, and not how it relates to the past personal dynamics between the parents. Can you see how important it is for the children to know that their parents are working together courteously and effectively? This is a huge one on the children's eyes. It helps them learn so much on how to handle relationships and difficult situations. Remember, the children learn from what they see the most. By fostering a united front in parenting, you can create a cohesive and supportive environment for the children. This unity is vital for their emotional and psychological health. Your children benefit immensely from seeing their parents work together harmoniously. Let's face it, separation brings difficult feelings in our children. Times of change cause them uncertainty, a shared commitment from both parents to their well-being, helps mitigate the potential negative impacts of the separation, providing the children with a sense of security and consistency that is so important during times of change. When you work on this new foundation, and now it is a shared commitment in co-parenting discussions and plans, not only helps in maintaining focus on what is truly important, the children's welfare, but also strengthens the co-parenting bond. It sends a clear message to the children that despite the changes in family dynamic, they remain at the heart of both parents' priorities. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. As we wrap up this first episode, it's important to reflect on the fundamental shifts and acknowledgement we discussed. Transitioning from romantic partners to co-parents isn't just about logistical changes. It's about a profound emotional and philosophical realignment. By acknowledging the completion of our romantic relationship and embracing a new partnership focused entirely on the well-being of our children, we set a strong foundation for this new beginning. This episode has laid the groundwork for understanding how essential it is to view co-parenting not as an extension of our past relationship, but as a new, distinct collaboration. It's about putting our children at the center of our efforts, ensuring that our actions and decisions are driven by their needs and best interests. As we move forward, let's keep in mind that this journey is about building on what has been to create what will be a stable, supportive, and loving environment for our children. The road may be challenging, but with a clear focus of our goals and mutual respect as co-parents, we can ensure that our children thrive. Thank you for joining me today. This week we're starting a series of episodes about co-parenting. Stay tuned for the second episode of this 3-part series, available on Thursday, where we will talk more about defining the co-parenting framework and setting goals that are shared that benefit our children. Together, we're learning and growing in ways that reinforce our commitment to being the best co-parents we can be. Let me continue sharing my co-parenting journey by clicking subscribe. And for even more positively inspired co-parenting tips, go to my blog at my website www.getpositivelyinspired.com. See you on Thursday. Live on purpose and remember, you are a positively inspired co-parent.